whichever side of the political aisle you're on, I would just like to say this very respectfully to you. Your party sucks. And I mean that because if you're on the Democratic side, your party really sucks. If you're on the Republican side, your party sucks also. If you're a libertarian, your party pretty much sucks as well. I mean, I like, just being honest. Okay, let me get into why. First of all, imagine how ludicrous it is if political parties, which I believe this is how it should be, they shouldn't exist. Just instead of having to have, like, one of them's got to be a Republican, one of them's got to be a Democrat, instead of having that to get down to your president, just pick from the bet. Like, okay, we like this guy and we like this guy. What happens with political parties is we get into positions where instead of looking for the truth, whichever party you identify as, you look for what that party is saying about any particular issue that's happening. So I would say it's almost impossible for someone to genuinely believe what their party believes on every single one of these issues. It's crazy. Let me give you some examples, right? So when you look at Republicans, I'll start with them. Because again, as I mentioned before, and as you can probably tell if you've watched any of my videos, I think that if I have to pick from either or, I will say that Republicans are a lot more, lately, I guess in the last couple of years, a lot more reasonable than Democrats. However, Republicans, let's start with them. They literally are campaigning back the blue. They've come up with a literal flag that is sort of disrespectful to the American flag in and of itself, but they've come up with their own American flag that symbolizes back the blue, right? Cool, no problem. Those same people want to completely eliminate the FBI and CIA in most cases, right? So now, even I've heard, and I like Steven Crowder, I've heard him say that, and maybe I misunderstood this, I hope I'm not saying this wrong, but I believe I've heard him say that if any Republican candidate doesn't support, isn't, I guess, willing to abolish the FBI, then he's not going to vote for them. I think I've heard him say that. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you how much I love the FBI or the CIA, but when you just look at it on the surface, and I just want to point out the hypocrisy, the FBI, what do? They actually stop crime from happening. Police, and I don't even want to abolish the police. I would like to upgrade the police. I would like for the police to be better at their jobs. But the police, what I'm getting at is they don't stop any crime. Very rarely do they stop crime. They might stop me from getting to work on time because they'll pull me over and they'll, against my consent, even though there's a Fourth Amendment that's supposed to protect me and my persons or property, they will just say, hey, get out of the car, let me search it. If I say no, they're going to say that there's a dog coming and that dog's going to smell. Because at all times, like anytime I've ever been pulled over in that spot where I either don't have anything on me or maybe I had some weed on me, when the dog comes, I've never had the dog not smell. And this is when I don't have anything at all on me or when I have maybe a little weed on me. So I've been in both of those scenarios, and I look, comment below if you've had the dog come and literally they say, well, the dog didn't smell anything, have a nice rest of your day. I've never seen it happen, right? So anyways, the point I'm making is the police don't really stop crimes. It's very rare, at least, right? What they do is they react to crimes, and the vast majority of their job is to literally bother people and say, hey, we're going to search. It's wild when you really take it a layer deeper, when you look at it from the standpoint of, hey, you pay my salary, right? If a cop pulls you over, you in part pay his salary, his or hers. If that cop pulls you over against your will, takes an hour out of your day, all because they were hoping to catch something or catch you with something and then take you to jail, where you can then pay more fines that will go to their pockets in one way or the other, or go to the government's pockets in one way or the other. It is absurd, right? And then when you say, hey, we should back them, those guys are awesome. We need to abolish the FBI, though. It's like, dude, the FBI has month or even year-long investigations of human trafficking rings, of, child, anything that might be damaging to a child. Like, those types of organized crime, and it takes them out. It literally eliminates those people from continuing to do crime and to do bad crimes. Police very rarely have any real investigation because the government's not willing to put money into cops the way that the federal government for the FBI, the way that their whole prerogative is they want the biggest cases, right? The local police would rather just pull over a citizen and tear their car apart, and hopefully we find some drugs on them so we can keep our income, basically. And so to me, if we're going to abolish one of them, and again, I'm not for abolishing either, to me it makes a lot more sense to abolish the local police. I would like, and I'm not a scholar when it comes to politics or anything of that nature, or the economy or whatever, but I would like to see if in any way it were possible for us to basically use our police officers in a similar way. Well, hold on. The first thing I would like to see is maybe we can just upgrade the police, right? We can just make it to where they don't ever pull people over for no reason, right? You're swerving horribly. Okay, we got to pull you over and make sure you're okay to drive. That's fine. But I think that if we could get it to where the police were, not just harassing people, which is the vast majority, in my opinion, of their jobs, I think then I'd be cool with the police. We can make it to where they only interact with those that are violent or are reasonably believed to be about to get violent, or have done something violent. So I think that would be, or theft, right? We need to protect people's belongings. So if we could get the police to that level, I'm totally happy. I'm a happy camper. The FBI, we don't have the issue of them just harassing random people because, again, they're actually solving crimes most of the time, and they have the federal conviction rate is like 97%. Why? Because they have all the evidence they need when they indict you. So it's a very, very different thing. And I know people on the Republican side, and this is why I don't like the idea of, oh, I'm a Republican, so fuck the FBI, or I'm a Republican, back the blue. Like you're an NPC, bro. Even on the Republican side, right? If you're a Democrat and you're like, abolish the police and, we love the FBI because they're ready to try, you're an NPC also. But my other suggestion for the police, and again, this could be completely impossible, but I would just, to throw another solution out there, because I am about solutions rather than just complaining. What if we used police in a similar way what if there were either no government police, and what we did instead was choose a private company to represent us, just like we do for health insurance, right? And you pay your security insurance every month, and then whoever's your protection agency, or whatever you would call it at that point, whoever your police are, you call them when you have an emergency, and they take care of you. I think that if you didn't want to, or you couldn't afford the protection of a company like that, then you would qualify for maybe, like government assisted policing, or whatever it might be called. But basically, I would like it to where those police are not allowed to pull over people that have their own policing agency. I think that would be, to me, it would be an upgrade, because here's the thing. I'm a believer in capitalism. When you have capitalism, right, and you have private companies competing, they are going to be held much more accountable, because if my company sucks and they don't get there, fast enough, or whatever my beef is with them, I'm immediately going to go fire them and hire someone else. And I think that when you have that type of checks and balances in place, I think the idea that you'll get a better product is a likely one, and I think that it makes sense. So that would be my, again, I don't know how if that could ever work or something like that, but that would be just something off the top of my head that I think that maybe could be a better solution. Other things, right? You have, and this is the obvious one, we have the abortion people on the left that are like, hey, women's rights to choose, and they don't really care, or they don't agree, I guess, that it's murdering a person, right? If you abort something, that's especially when they're in week 26 and things of that nature, that's very, very late, or even like, to me, week 14. I can't be certain on this, but I believe that the heartbeat starts to happen in like the 6th or 8th week or something like that. To me, and just not to get too in the weeds on this topic, but my opinion is that if you stop a beating heart, a person's beating heart, I think that is technically murder, right? I mean, that would be my take on it. But whatever your position, it should be consistent, right? And the two-party system, the predominant two-party system, makes this to where it's not consistent, right? Because you say, well, I'm for a woman's right to choose, but I'm also, because I'm a Democrat and I'm an NPC, I'm also for vaccine mandates. I want them to force you to inject something into your body that you don't want. I think that's a little bit bonkers, right? Like, how could that same person have those conflicting views? You know, it's just like, to me, defunding the it's just like to me backing the blue and getting rid of every other law enforcement, the law enforcement that actually, if you really get down into it, that actually solves crimes or stops crimes. So again, there's many issues like this, but both parties, for the most part, I guess what I'm really getting at is I don't think it's possible to genuinely agree with everything on any side. I just think that if you're amongst that, then that's insane, right? Like, a lot of you guys would say that I lean to the right, and while that's probably true with the way things are today, when I was young, I'm 35 now, when I was like 20, 21, 22, I was super liberal, and I don't think my positions have changed all that much, right? Like Bill Maher says, it's not me that changed, it's you. Like, I'm still really much in favor of not messing with anybody for any drug. I would be actually in favor of legalizing all drugs. And the reason for that is I just believe in freedoms, right? Like, if I want to sit here at my house and do drugs all day, well, I don't think the police should be able to take me to jail for that. I don't think they should be able to make me pay fines for that. I don't think that they owe me, help with that if I can't get off of it myself. But I don't think that it should be any of their business. Maybe I'm a functioning drug addict. I mean, I've seen it before. And so I'm also a believer in freedom of speech. I'm also a believer in the Second Amendment. I'm also a believer in the Fourth Amendment, Fifth Amendment, all that. So, like, I am, weirdly enough, by today's standards, would probably be leaning right. But generally, I just want freedom, right? I want freedom. And I only want police interference if it's someone literally just stole from my house. They broke in my house and took everything I have, or took some valuable things from my home or my car or my person, or they hurt me or hurt someone, right? Like, those are the things that I think that the only reason police should be involved. I think we've gotten way too used to where it's like, oh yeah, if the police officer asks me to do something, I do it. It's like, dude, we literally pay for these people. We pay them. We pay their salaries, right? And they are our bosses. They can not give a shit about if we're late to work that day. They can stop us from driving. They can decide that they are suspicious for whatever reason. They can then destroy our vehicles by searching them. And if they don't find anything, there's no, they're just like, all right, see you later. That's it. They don't even put anything back when they do that to your car. It's just, to me, it's crazy. So I would just like some consistency. My solution for what to do about a party system is abolish the parties. No more parties, right? If you want to have, you want to finalize it down to 2 potential people for president, I would say just pick the 2 best people. Forget the party line. Because, like, even for now, if we're voting, right, and we're most Republicans are just going to vote Republican on the ballot. Most Democrats are going to do the same. So it's just I don't know, man. I think that, and that would actually be a way to advocate for parties, because it's a whole lot more difficult to know each of those, potential electees, just based on their merit rather than their party. But to me, I still think we could figure out a way to do that. And especially when it comes down to president, I think forget the political parties, just pick the 2 best guys or girls, and that should be the way it's done. So, I don't know. Let me know if you agree or disagree in the comments. Subscribe, ring the bell, all that, and I'll talk to you guys later. Peace.